concluded by 6:45 to give them a little time in case there's trouble with the restreaming.
We're going to conclude it well before then.
Okay. Okay, it looks like we're streaming. So we're on the air, folks. And
Okay. Is it 5? It is. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And Cindy, could I get you to do a roll call?
All right, let's see who's here. Edmund Acosta,
Present.
Mark Barnes. Not here yet. Aaron Ginsberg,
Here.
Joan Greco-Cohen. She's moving her glasses.
Yeah.
Okay. Latrice Johnson. Gerald Lander.
Gerald's on vacation, I believe.
Okay. Helen Nelling.
Here.
Kathleen Simpson.
Here.
And Cindy Zerwas present.
Hang on one second. Cindy, I'm here. Hang on.
Yes,
I'll be right
I
back.
counted you in.
Okay, thanks. I'll be right back.
And then from the library director Patrick Wall, assistant director Carrie Bruce, and office manager Cindy Dyken.
And we have Representative Clay with us also.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment?
We've received no requests for
No,
something.
okay.
to the
Good.
record.
Let's chat in the morning.
All right. I hope everyone has had an opportunity to read the minutes from the last meeting.
Sorry about that.
Does anyone have any correction to the minutes? Then may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Do I
I
make a
move to
motion to
approve.
approve the minutes?
Okay. May I have a second?
I would like to second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Cindy, would you like to call the roll for approval?
Edmund Acosta,
Here.
Joan Greco-Cohen,
Yes.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Yes.
Helen Nelling,
Yes.
Kathleen Simpson,
Yes.
and Cindy Zerwas, yes.
Yes.
And if anybody else comes on and it's below my screen, please, somebody let me know.
The next item is correspondence. Patrick, do we have correspondence?
None that I am aware of, other than the very generous donation from the Danzigers.
Um,
Sharon and Walter Danziger, who are longtime contributors to the library, have given us a new contribution of $3,000. Their contribution is always split between kids' books and mysteries and thrillers. And I have sent them a thank you on behalf of the board.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
And
They
Carrie,
live-
are there any other?
They live down the
correspondence?
street from me, so the next time I see them, I will tell them thank you in person.
Oh, that would be lovely.
They just live at the end of my block.
No, excellent. Our council liaison, Clay, is next on the agenda. What do you have for us?
Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, my report's a little lighter. Today we meet less frequently during the summer months, so less to report. But what I do have a report I think is pretty exciting. I believe it was Monday, the Third Ward Revitalization Task Force met. You may be aware that with the Costco development, there are monies allocated, some $10 million over a course of time, dedicated to the Third Ward, specifically related on the residential side. There's another $5 million for business. But the council saw it appropriate to have a task force to really dig into how those monies could be most effectively used. And so the council has impaneled a task force. 7 of the 9 members are Third Ward residents. We have 2 other members from other wards, but they met in really more of an organizational meeting. Heard a presentation, I should say, from the deputy city manager about possibilities for housing programs. So part of the charge of the task force is to look at potential housing support programming. The money, and I want to be clear about this, setting up a program template that can be used across University City for housing support, but the dollars, the $10 million are just to be used for the Third Ward. So if these housing plans were to be used or programs to be used in other wards, there'd have to be a separate funding source that supports that. But the template could be, usable not just in the Third Ward, but wherever there might be some sort of housing need. So they talked about that. Additionally, this task force will be charged with looking at some other improvements, be it public safety or public works type of improvements that can be made in the Third Ward, potentially leveraging these dollars. So that's very exciting. And along with that, of course, you are seeing things happening with the Costco development. It is likely that if you've been by there at all, seen the kind of steel framing going up at a very quick pace, and the retaining wall, I think, is all but finished. And you can start to see the kind of the layout of the parking lot, how that's going to look, and some other things. So things are moving in a positive direction on that front as well. But let me pause there and see if there are any questions anyone has. Okay.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And very exciting time in University City. The librarians report. Patrick.
Yes, so we've got that consent agenda on there. Is there anything that any board member would like pulled out from the what we've listed in the consent agenda?
Nope, apparently not.
Okay, and I will note that at 7 p.m. tonight, our keynote kickoff for our adult summer reading program with author Melody Ju will be on the same, not this same Zoom link, but the same streaming channel.
And you sent out a couple of communications to the board.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So none of the ebook thing was just I just seen it today, and that related to some stuff we've been talking about earlier, and I just didn't want to forget to send that out. So I apologize. I said on the updated budget narrative in the budget. We'll discuss that later. And then I forgot what was the thing we sent out earlier.
Report from the conference.
Oh yeah, just the report from the conference. I just wanted to get that done before we were on to the summer break sort of thing. So it was I thought a good conference. A lot of discussion about the items listed in there.
Okay.
And Carrie got a chance to go as well.
Yeah, Carrie, did you think it was a good conference?
Yeah, I felt like I learned a lot. I got to meet some other assistant library directors and some of the libraries that we started reciprocal agreements with. So that was exciting. And the state librarians report was really interesting. The discussion from the library director at Daniel Boone also had a lot to say.
Carrie,
Yes.
what might have been the most interesting reciprocal agreement with another library or others?
Oh, just we recently signed the reciprocal agreement to have reciprocal services with Jefferson County and with Scenic Regional Library.
To what?
So where UCity residents or MLC members, resident or MLC library residents and
Wow.
and then Jefferson County residents and the residents of the areas covered by Scenic Regional Library are all able to have cards in each other's locations. So it's sort of another way for, just as we can have cards for St. Louis Public and St. Louis County, now we can have a card at Jefferson County or at Scenic Regional
Wow.
Library. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
I'll note on that I'm sorry, Cindy.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you want to finish answering that, I have a couple of questions related to the
Oh,
report.
okay, I was just going to say that I think our system administrator reported at last week's MLC meeting that there's been about 30, we have about 30 card holders now between the two systems that are MLC card holders, and that at least one group of MLC staff carpool down there to get cards because they're all heavy overdrive users, and you get access to two more overdrive catalogs that way.
That's cool.
Maybe I'll suggest a carpool to some UCity staff.
Yeah.
Cindy, did you have something you wanted to ask?
Yes, Patrick, I had several questions. The report references Senate Bill 1160, which if passed would allocate money for a Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Does the UCity Library have any connection to the Dolly Parton Imagination Project at all?
No, not right now. And the state librarian was just saying to reach out to the school districts, because if they get those funds, the funding's great, but it's a big project to manage. And a lot of times school districts have worked with public libraries to get that going. So I don't know any of the details yet, and it's not passed yet, but we'll be talking to the school district just to see if what we can do.
But is that a goal for you and the staff to eventually have that? I was thinking of our long range planning that maybe that would...
this was the first I'd really heard about it in detail. It was, something that there hadn't been funding for before. So it wasn't something we were really on top of, but we'll scramble and catch up and see what we can do.
When do we expect that to reach the floor to be voted on?
All we were told was if it passes, it should start, towards the end of fall.
Okay.
Yeah, fall of 2023.
Okay.
If it passes and
Well, it
doesn't.
sounds like next session.
Yeah.
If there is a need to encourage our residents to reach out to their representatives to encourage passage, let us know through the board, and we can talk about some communication.
Okay.
So I have more questions.
Cindy, excuse me, imagination turns out to be a recent value of some of the libraries that are out there. Libraries like libraries have mission statements, but some of them also have sets of stated values. And recently, imagination has become one of those values. So I think if you dream up something, it could be a very interesting topic for a long-range plan, as probably is going around in your brain right now. Thank you.
This particularly, though, Ed, is what Dolly Parton calls her book outreach to children.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Cindy.
So I was also curious. I know that most of the legislation in Missouri that gets proposed never goes anywhere, and 2.5% gets passed. And I'm just wondering how that affects our budgets. If most of the money that is proposed as increases for libraries statewide gets vetoed, I don't know how that would affect, if we just consider that icing on the cake of our regular budget process, or if that, can you remember a time when they did approve funding for libraries?
Yeah, every now and then it gets approved with an increase, and the increase doesn't get vetoed, and it doesn't get then subsequently withheld, and then everything's great. We get to buy extra resources. Last year there were increases that were in the budget that were then the line item veto took hold, and it was just we were sort of back to what had been the year before. This year, I was told that it's probably going to be state aid to public libraries will stay at 50 cents per capita, which is, what we had historically been at until about 2015, and then it got cut, and then it slowly worked its way back up. So we're happy to be back at 50 cents per capita for that. It works out to be, about $17,500 for the UCity library. A&E money, the graph of that is fairly wild. It gets cut completely some years. It's never been fully funded, but some years are better than others. Last year was pretty good. If the proposed increases are in there, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, thank you for that background. And my last question is, I thought it was interesting that the Daniel Boone Regional Library System became the first in Missouri staff voted to unionize.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a trend nationwide? Is that something the University City Library need to be concerned about? And
Aware
if
of.
so,
Well,
how
I think it's something we need to be aware of, and we'll certainly, pay attention to anything that's happening in the area. There was conjecture that the larger systems with larger budgets and larger number of staffs are the ones that are might be seeing unionization activities first, but we'll see.
I mean, it seems to be a trend nationwide. Granted, unionization is way less than 10% in the United States, but I didn't know if that was a trend in libraries across the country.
There are whole states where it's uncommon to find a library that's not unionized. I think I was told Michigan and Ohio. I think Washington, a lot of the libraries are union. So it's just a different way of operating. Libraries are constrained by the budgets that we have. Whether it's a union. Whether the budget is constrained further by the union contract or it's just another way of working. I think we'll be okay either way.
Right. I have no objection to it.
Yeah.
I'm just, for planning purposes, for budgets and looking
we'll
to the
just,
future.
We'll try to keep an open dialogue going with staff if it comes up.
Okay.
And
There was an indication that the Daniel Boone Library was taken a bit by surprise by it.
Oh,
to Cindy's point, though, I think that it behooves the board to continue to look at what's best for all of our stakeholders, and that certainly includes the staff. And
I think that's totally true. I mean,
a former HR person, I can tell you that unionization is not always about money. A flippant way to say it is look to the supervisors. If your supervisors aren't doing a good job, you may get a union. So we need to make sure that our folks are treated well and fairly and paid as well as we can. Is there anything else on the consent agenda? Okay, the building project. What's new, Patrick?
The building project. So we have, been sending emails out, been getting responses back. We have a meeting set up tomorrow. I'm going to attend by Zoom because I'll be on the road. Carrie and Dallas will be going on the walkthrough, the final walkthrough for phase 2A, not necessarily the punch list, but putting together a punch list and discussing, any remaining issues. And then we should be setting up a kickoff meeting for construction relatively soon. And then we're still trying to get a hold of RG Ross to do the final walkthrough for phase 1. Dallas and I both went over there separately today to see how this morning's storms treated us. Still a lot of leakage at the front. They had Stanley, the door people out there sealing part of it, but it seemed to be the wrong part. And the Stanley guy was cleaning up and saying, you know, it's the windows, it's not the doors. So we'll be discussing that with RG Ross when we get a chance. We did get a big, thick folder full of stuff from the abatement people from Midwest and from farmers, just sort of the closeout for the abatement. I've got to talk to Michelle about what that actually is, if that's everything we need on that.
Patrick, when do we stop asking Ross to fix the windows? I mean, when do we escalate that?
I'll talk to Michelle about that. I don't really know. I mean, we've got the retainage.
Yeah, retain it. Yeah,
I
but
don't think we've got to the point where we're, you know, formally declaring that they're, you know, not meeting expectations.
Okay.
Sometime before we open the building, I guess.
And can I ask a point of order, completely out of sequence here? Did you need a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Oh, yeah.
we did. Thank you.
Okay. I don't want anybody to get in trouble. I don't want anybody to get any nasty letters.
Thank you, Joan. That's on me.
No, it's-
Since I can see everybody on my Zoom screen, let's have a show of hands to accept the consent agenda. Okay, consent agenda accepted. Moving to action items, when we will need some roll call votes. The first action item is the pay rate and pay scale, which was sent out to you. This was approved by both the HR committee, or the Personnel and Policy Committee, and the Budget and Finance Committee. It was not ready for approval last meeting, but it is now. Does anyone have any questions about this? You've seen this before.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
You're going to, okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
I would like to make a motion that we approve this new pay rate change
And pay scale?
and pay scale, excuse me.
Okay.
Second that.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the pay rate and pay scale for the upcoming fiscal year. Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Edmund Acosta,
aye.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Yes.
Erin Ginsburg,
Yes.
Helen Nelling,
Yes.
Kathleen Simpson,
Yes.
and Cindy Zerwis. Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. The next item is the 2022-23 budget. You have also seen this before, and this has also been approved by the Budget and Finance Committee. Erin, is that true?
Yes.
And Helen, can I just point out that this is, that there has been one change made to this, and that was line 6545. I hope you can see it on the screen now. Line 6545, property rental has been zeroed out. I'd forgotten that we had moved that from something the library was paying from library funds to something being paid from the bond funds once the bond funding passed.
Okay, so that's now in line.
It'll be just coming out of the debt service principal and interest, 9150, 9200. It'll be part of the whole bond package.
Okay.
Then have any questions about that or anything else on the budget?
No.
I just wanted to second what Cindy said earlier, that the descriptions, the narrative, super helpful. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the budget for the upcoming fiscal year?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the budget for the upcoming fiscal year.
I'll
Second.
second that. Oh, Cindy's got it. Okay.
Okay. Cindy, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Cindy, would you call the roll?
Edmund Acosta,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Yes.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Yes.
Helen Nelling,
Yes.
Kathleen Simpson,
Yes.
and Cindy Zerwas, yes.
Okay, the motion is approved. The next item is an invoice from
RG Ross.
Bond Architects. Patrick, do you have any
Bond
comments?
Architects sent the invoice that was under the less than the amount needed for board approval, so
Oh, that's right, you paid it. Okay,
we'll pay that.
okay.
I just noticed, Helen, I made a mistake. I do not have the RG Ross invoice listed on the agenda. It is listed in the board packet, but not on the agenda. I believe we probably have to repost it and have a board meeting just for that one item.
Okay. But you have a payment request from Ranieri.
We did not receive a payment request from Ranieri.
Then that is just, then that actually is the request from RG Ross, which
Okay,
It's a
so I have
typo.
that, I just have it listed incorrectly on the agenda.
typo.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
can we go ahead then? If that's just a typo?
We can certainly do that, and then I'll check to see if that's something we can just go ahead with then.
Okay. Do we have a copy of that in, well, it's-
Yes, it is. It should
Part
be.
of the board
here.
packet.
yeah,
Yeah, it starts on page 38. I'm sorry, on 37, no, 38. Of the packet.
okay. Does anyone have any questions about this invoice? And we want to pay that Eve, okay.
This would be paid from the BOKF funds. And it was submitted on the day before the board meeting last month, but they did not get all the necessary documentation to me in time to get it on a revised agenda.
And we want to pay this even though the windows are still leaking.
Yes, there's still the retainage to take care of that. Let's see.
And the total for this?
The total for this is $39,034.23. And in the page 40 of the packet shows under column I that we are currently holding on to $56,421 in retainage from RG Ross for just this sort of thing, until they complete the work to our satisfaction.
Would someone like to make a motion to pay this bill?
I would be happy to make a motion that we pay RG Ross $39,034.23.
Is there a second? Cindy seconds. Okay, Cindy, would you like to call the roll?
Edmund Acosta. Edmund,
Edmund,
Unmute.
can you hear me?
you're muted.
He's muted.
Unmuted, yes.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Yes, please.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Yes.
Helen Nelling,
Yes.
Kathleen Simpson,
Yes.
and Cindy Zerwas, yes.
We will now adjourn the public meeting.
Did you want
Go
to
ahead.
go ahead with the president's report and committee reports and then go into closed session so you can just come out and adjourn totally? Or did you wanna-
Okay. All right, is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. My report is that I want to thank all of you for your service this past year. I look forward to next year, working with you all, except of course for Edmund, and we will miss him greatly. I would also like to discuss our usual July and August holiday. Are all of you, I don't think we need a motion on this, but are all of you okay with that? If we do get a bill that we need to pay, we'll communicate and we'll meet quickly to pay those bills.
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. Well, enjoy July and August. And then
And the very first part of September, because then we won't actually meet until what is it, the sales tax stuff comes in, Patrick, towards the end of
Yes,
September?
the next meeting would be scheduled for September 28th at 5:15, and that'll be the tax.
Okay.
The meeting to set the tax rate.
tax rate, yeah. I will send out, or I will have Patrick send out a list of the new committee assignments. Cindy is going to continue to chair personnel and policy. Aaron is going to continue to chair budget and finance. Gerald is going to continue to chair building and grounds. And Mark Barnes is going to take over from Edmund to chair long range planning. And he and Edmund have already met once to pass the torch. Correct, Edmund?
Correct.
And that's all I have to say. So Edmund,
So I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question. So
Sure.
if this is our last board meeting and this is for Cindy, does that mean we won't have a personnel and policy meeting on the 22nd?
Oh.
That's a good question. I thought that I just assumed that it's the month of June and that we meet
Okay.
with various
Okay.
committees. And that's my interpretation of it. I don't think of it as the board meeting as being the end of the month in terms of who meets and when, because they change. But that's just my understanding of it. I could be totally off.
Okay, so that's fine. So Helen, then I'm moving off of long range planning onto building and grounds, and someone would have to let me know if there's a building and grounds meeting that I need to participate in.
We will.
Okay.
That's why we're setting up the new thing. Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
Edmund, can you give us a brief review of the long range planning? We're on the clock here, so.
Here we go. Very quickly, you've probably just received a request from me to carry out a little exercise that, and if you haven't received it yet, you'll receive 3 displays, and each one of those has a very bare bones set of instructions. The instructions are for the first, the instructions essentially come down to trying to evoke from you your ideas, your thoughts, considerations, threats with regard to our future, and it's set up to help you do that with display number 1, talking about the objectives. There are about 45 objectives out there that we've come up with, from which you can choose, or if you can come up with another objective that you'd like, choose that one and then move on to display number 2. Display number 2 has room for you to write down a goal for your objectives that you've chosen. Display number 3 is a sample of a couple of the objectives that I've come up with that have been favorites of mine, and I've indicated those and written down very short goals, and And that's the basic idea, to try to get as many goals out there as we can for the long-term planners, because their job is to, from the possible goals that are out there, try to select the ones that will be of most value to the library and to our patrons. And this is to evoke your contributions, your basic, essential contributions to the long-term plan. Eventually, if there are 15 to 20 goals that emerge from this exercise, a long-term planning committee will have to prioritize and select those in terms of cost, risk, payoff, all of several variables. Okay, so this is an important exercise. If you have any questions, please call either me or Mark Barnes. Second thing is that these 9 years on the board have gone by very, very quickly. And one of the things that I've been so impressed with is the quality of the people who've been on the boards and associated with the boards. I'm talking about the staff, the leadership of the library, and citizens that show up with thoughts for the board. So show up with also contributions to the library in various ways. Another thing that's been very impressive to me is I've learned that the library is a much different animal than what I expected a library to be, a collection and an intermediary between existing resources and people, in terms mainly of ebooks and paper books. Well, that's not at all the limitation of library. Library values say, hey, we might very much want to be contributors to the community as well as the individual patrons who walk in the door or log on. So that means that transitions have taken place in the library. One of the remarkable things was an expansion of the required capabilities of librarians. In order to have something like a monthly health fair upstairs for whoever shows up on a Saturday morning, you have to have some organizational capacity, collaboration capacity, and things of that sort. So it's not just libraries, not just books and ebooks. Some of the changes, I think that the library is very well positioned to address the upcoming changes that are inevitable. One of them is energy costs. And of course, you know that sustainability is one of my thoughts on how the library can serve the greater good, serve the population of the entire community. And now, the very last thing is to say that we have a parallel effort going on in University City right now, and that's called Vision 2040. You've all heard of it. If any of you, I would invite any one of you to participate in about 5 focus groups that we're having over the next week, not this week, but into the middle of June. And if you'd like to hear about the various focus groups, please let me know. The focus groups involve sustainability. They involve the future, how University City might be looking in terms of education in 2040, and how commercial development might be looking in 2040. And all of this involves transformations, imagination, thank you, Dolly Parton and others, that transformation, imagination, and anticipation of the various forces that will be pounding the library in plenty of ways. And the opportunity involves our having some discretionary funding available to us every year, which 5 years ago we did not have. One of the big transformations from my first year in the library. So transformations are with us. Let's not be afraid of them. Let's embrace them, anticipate them, embrace them, talk about them, and see how we can be a library that enhances and enriches the community in various ways beyond books and ebooks. So thank you.
Very wise words from Ed, and a great segue for those of you on the Long Range Planning Committee and anyone who wants to participate in the broader community planning. Personnel and Policy Committee. Any
Sure.
report?
I'll just quickly highlight the Personnel and Policy Committee last met on May 25th, and we approved a change in the credit card usage by staff. Staff is also looking at revising the service policy rules and updating the meeting room policy probably in the fall to get ready for the library reopening early next year. The pay changes we've already talked about, and on the personnel side, we'll get into more of that in the closed session in a few minutes, but I just wanted to remind Mr. Clay about board renewals and filling our empty spot now that Edmund is stepping down. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, and our next meeting will be June 22nd at 2:30. Thank you, Joan.
Budget and Finance Committee.
I'm happy that we have approved the new budget and the new salaries. That's what we talked about on Monday.
Okay. Gerald is not there. Building and Grounds. We just, the committee tried to keep track of what's going on, and we talked about moving forward. We talked about windows leaking. And is there any old business?
What's
there any
question on the old businesses? What's the status of the party?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to wait to talk about that when we go into closed session, so
Okay.
we're not discussing that.
That's fine.
Party crashes, library party crashes.
Right.
Just wanted
Not
to
that anyone's
celebrate.
really going to want to come other than us, but
Right, but I just wanted to celebrate our hardworking board members.
yes.
any new business?
Yeah.
And
Yes. Patrick,
Yes, sir.
tell us a little bit about the tricycle.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Edmund. At long last, our tricycle bookmobile arrived suddenly day before yesterday. And it was it was in many pieces and very heavy, and it got taken to the basement. Then yesterday, my sons, I corralled my two large sons in, we carried it out to my van. We took it over to Cursed Bikes and Coffee on Jackson here in University City, and they're going to put it together for us for $120. They should have it ready early next week, and we'll start taking pictures, and I'll be riding it back from the bike shop. I get the first ride, so we're excited.
How big is it?
There were so many months of the manufacturer telling us it was just about to ship. It was just about to ship. It was going to ship, and then we finally got it. Then we were surprised.
well,
Are there
we'll
any
look
other-
for updates.
How
We'll look
big
for
is it
updates.
going to be?
It is about that wide and about that long on the box, and then it's a big old tricycle with e-assist on it. So,
Wow.
Well,
Are there any
okay.
other tricycles?
Okay.
Do any
Okay,
other
let's-
libraries have the tricycles?
none that I'm aware of in the area, but totally
Again,
possible.
we're unique.
Yeah.
Leaders.
Leaders and tricycles here. Yeah, that's.
I'm being cognizant of the time, so let's adjourn our public meeting and go into closed session.
And then
do I
going
need
into
a
closed
motion?
session will require a motion and a roll call vote.
Okay. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
So move.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Can I do a hand vote?
You're required to do a roll call vote for going into
Okay.
closed
All
session
right.
in a
Cindy?
regular meeting.
Edmund Acosta,
Yes.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Yes.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Yes.
Helen Nelling,
Yes.
Kathleen Simpson,
Yes.
and Cindy Zerwas, yes.
So I will
Okay.
say goodbye to Patrick, Cindy Dykeman, Carrie Bruce, and Stacy Clay, and we hope they have a wonderful summer.
And I'm going to
Thank
stop
you.
the live stream